Direct monitoring is one of the primary features that an audio interface can provide, but what exactly is it? Do you really need direct monitoring, and why are there different variants of direct monitoring? I will tell you all about it in this video. Hey, Julian Kraus here. Direct monitoring seems to be a feature that some people can't live without and others might never use it. So let's have a look at what it does and if you need it. First of all, what is direct monitoring and what is it not? As the name implies, direct monitoring lets you monitor the sound of your inputs directly, and in most cases this is via headphones. And directly meaning without any noticeable delay. So this function allows you to listen to the audio that you're recording in real time. The real time aspect is important because let's say you would record your own voice and have a delay in the monitoring, then you would hear your recorded voice played back a little later, and that would essentially result in a speech jammer. I've seen some direct monitoring implementations which add just enough delay to be irritating, and I wouldn't classify them as proper direct monitoring features. Also, in your DAW or operating system, you sometimes get an option to send the incoming audio back to your outputs. This more often than not introduces an audible amount of delay, as the audio needs to be sent from your interface to your PC and then back again. Depending on your use case, this might work, but I generally do not consider these to be proper direct monitoring solutions. Luckily, pretty much all audio interfaces on the market and even some USB mics offer direct monitoring without any audible delay. This is achieved by simply not sending the audio to the PC, but directly routing the audio from the inputs to the outputs. So if properly implemented, direct monitoring allows you to listen to the audio of your inputs without any delay, which in some situations can be essential, but might not be needed in others. So what are the situations where you would want to use direct monitoring? The first example I already mentioned, simply listening to your own voice while recording. This has multiple benefits. First of all, you can hear your own performance, which might be essential to get the best out of your voice while you're singing. Direct monitoring is particularly useful when you use closed-back headphones, as they tend to make you hear your own voice with a lot of bass, just like putting your hands over your ears. The additional clear signal of your voice via the direct monitoring feature can help you eliminate this underwater effect and make you more confident in your own voice. Additionally, with direct monitoring, you can make sure that what you're recording is exactly how it's supposed to be. For example, in a live streaming scenario or podcast, you would want to hear your own voice to make sure that your voice is recorded well and there is, for example, no background noise in your audio. Nothing worse than not monitoring the audio only to realize later that you had a buzzing sound in the recording the whole time. Ask me how I know. And this extends to all kinds of use cases, doesn't matter whether you're recording an instrument, sound effects, or whatever. Direct monitoring allows you to hear the incoming audio in real time in order to judge its quality, and it also enables you to hear your own voice while recording. By the way, if you enjoyed the video so far, please like this video and subscribe to not miss any future uploads. Now, are there scenarios where you do not want to use direct monitoring? Generally speaking, it's not a bad idea to use it if you can, but for example, right now I'm recording with an audio interface, but I don't have any headphones on, simply because I don't want to wear headphones in my videos. But this definitely has a bit of a risk to it. If for whatever reason the microphone decides to act up or interference starts to creep in mid-take, then I would have no idea of knowing this until I have listened to the audio later and would then have to redo the whole recording. I want to bring up two more points where you might not want to use direct monitoring. If the audio is routed to your speakers and you're recording, direct monitoring is not a good idea because this can cause feedback. If there's audio recorded by a microphone and then directly sent to the speakers, which can be picked up by the mic again, this can end up in a nasty feedback screech that you can sometimes hear in live setups. Yikes. In this case, it's better to turn off direct monitoring or use headphones to avoid feedback loops. And for the same reason, it's best to use closed-back headphones for direct monitoring, as you don't want to accidentally create a feedback loop with audio leaking from your headphones. This also goes for things like reamping. This is where you send the audio from your interface through an external guitar amp or an analog processor and then back into the interface. If direct monitoring would be turned on in this scenario, it could create a feedback loop which ruins your audio, so keep an eye out for that. Okay, direct monitoring can be important, and I guess you'll find it interesting that there are essentially 3 different ways how direct monitoring is implemented on audio interfaces, each with their own pros and cons. What do I mean by that? The first kind is the simplest implementation of them all, a simple on-off button. This allows you to easily toggle the direct monitoring on or off with the push of a button. Some interfaces that have direct monitoring like this are the Moto M2, Arturia Minifuse 1 and Behringer UMC22. Some interfaces go a bit further and offer a stereo and mono option, which allows you to hear the left channel on the left side of your headphones and the right one on the right. This can be helpful when you want to record in stereo and you also want to monitor in stereo. Otherwise, you will very often want to have all your inputs on the left and right side of your headphones, and this is usually the default. So if there are no controls for that, most interfaces will play all channels on the left and right side simultaneously. This makes absolute sense. For example, if you mic'd up 2 people, you want to hear them both equally on the left and the right, and you do not want to hear your own voice on your left and the other person on the right. That would be pretty confusing. While having a simple button to toggle direct monitoring is obviously a great feature to have and most definitely better than nothing, but it can be a bit limiting because you have no control over the volume of the audio that is coming directly from your inputs compared to the output. Why is this important? Let's say you want to record yourself singing to a song. Then you want to hear your own voice with direct monitoring and simultaneously the song that you are singing to. This is absolutely possible. With direct monitoring enabled, you will hear your inputs without any delay and simultaneously the audio played back by the interface. Pretty much all interfaces work this way. Now, it might happen that the audio on your inputs is not that loud and the played back track is a lot louder. Then you will have trouble hearing yourself over the music. There is a little trick to that. You can turn direct monitoring on and adjust the volume on your interface to your preferred volume for monitoring, and then use the digital output volume in your DAW or operating system to adjust the volume of the playback track. This way you can get the volume ratio right. All doable, but it can be a bit cumbersome. If only there were a control that lets you directly dial in the ratio of the direct monitoring to the playback audio. Well, this is exactly what the second type of implementation does. This not only lets you turn on or off direct monitoring, but also lets you adjust a dial to anywhere in between, which lets you easily adjust the volume ratio. This is, in my opinion, a nice step up in convenience compared to a simple on-off switch. Interfaces that have opted for this style of direct monitoring are the Steinberg UR22C, Native Instrument Complete Audio 2, and Tascam US2X2HR, just to name a few. But this is still not perfect because you only have one dial that adjusts all channels simultaneously. Let's say you record your own voice, a guitar and a trumpet. The trumpet might sound louder and then there isn't anything you can do with the direct monitoring dial as it affects all channels equally. I know some people might suggest to change the input gain of the trumpet channel, but that's really not what you want. You want to set up your input gain for each channel to get the best signal to noise ratio for the recording and not somewhere else to be able to monitor it properly. So the ideal solution would be one which allows you to exactly dial in how much audio you hear from each channel individually in comparison to the output. And that's exactly what some interfaces can do. Compared to the two aforementioned options, which are often implemented on a hardware basis, this solution is much more easy to implement in software. So you will have a program that you can install on your PC in which you can control all the settings. Just quickly to mention here, only because it's software controlled does not mean that the audio goes to your PC and back again, as this would introduce delay. This digital audio routing is actually done inside the interface, that's why there is minimal delay and this is still proper direct monitoring. As an example, here I'm in the Focusrite control center and here I can set each of the two inputs individually, so you can dial in the exact amount of audio level you want to monitor each channel at. This is with the Focusrite 2i2 4th Gen interface. Audient has a similar solution, which looks like this, and that's with an ID14 Mark II connected. And Moto has this feature on, for example, the Ultralight Mark V. If you remember, they didn't have this feature on the M2, and this shows that how direct monitoring is implemented is not necessarily manufacturer specific, but it depends on a particular interface. Generally speaking, with more channels on an interface, the software solution will make much more sense, as a dial or button would be a bit too limiting for these high channel count interfaces. Nevertheless, we see more and more smaller interfaces going the route of a full software control as well, and I think that's a good thing. The only downside I can see is that it's sometimes not as straightforward as using a switch or a dial, and you will have to use the software to set everything up. But besides that, I think the software implementation is much more flexible than a button or dial solution. One last thing to mention is that because of the nature of direct monitoring being real-time, you will often find that it is not possible to monitor your audio with effects. This is because the audio would need to be sent to a PC, the effects applied, and then back again. This once again would introduce too much delay. Some interfaces, which include the RMA Babyface, Antelope, Zengo Synergy Core, and Luit Connect 2, have some effects available which are directly processed inside the audio interface, which allows these effects to be applied in real time to the direct monitoring signal. This is definitely more of a specialty feature, but if you need to monitor your audio with effects in real time, you might want to look at an audio interface that has onboard audio processing. Yeah, generally speaking, I think it makes a lot of sense to quickly check how direct monitoring is implemented on an audio interface before buying it, as it can make quite a bit of a difference in how it handles. That's pretty much all there is to know about direct monitoring, and now you know if you need it, and if yes, you can decide which is the best option for you, be it a simple on-off switch, a ratio dial, or full software control. I would appreciate a big old thumbs up on the video, subscribe for more, and I will see you all in the next one.